Have either of you worked with customers? Have done a great job of reflecting on how that process went 6 months after go live, a year after go live? Because I feel like a lot of times what I see is like it's just a mad dash to get to go live, and phew, it's done, and it's working. Okay, on to the next project, right? Have you worked with customers, not naming any, of course, that really have been reflective, and what's that look like?
One, I can name one customer that did a really great job of this. Very large telecom organization. And the reason they did a really great job of it was they built their own bot and removed humans from the conversation. So there was no inefficiencies. That click and that toggle tax that I think you referred to,
Yeah.
um, there is no toggle tax for them. Everything is a very, very defined measure. So they're kind of a bad example because not many people are going to build that kind of automation
Right.
into their system. But the reason that they were successful was that they started that endeavor with a very clear goal in mind. They wanted to have a 12 to 14 day interview apply to hire time frame.
Hmm.
Large
Hmm.
telecom, very high turnover.
Yeah.
Um, Call center kind of customer.
Yeah.
And so because they had that very specific timeline in mind that they consistently wanted to hit, it was a goal they could measure to. So
Mm.
I guess the moral of the story is the ones that I've seen that are successful at it have a very clear goal in mind. I want to achieve a 30-day time to fill.
Yeah.
Okay, what can we do to get there?
Love that. So, what about you?
I'm with you on this, Alex. I've not seen it done effectively. And I think that comes from a variety of different elements. I wouldn't expect medium enterprise, small and medium enterprise customers to get this right because I think it requires, human power, more heads, and the reality of the headcount involved or people involved in Workday implementations or any HRIS for that matter is you're running super lean. You're taking resources from your operations team and you're fractionally allocating them to a project. There's not the real capacity to split project management and change and enablement and strategy and governance, and then the tactical components of actually executing against the implementation, design, testing, deploy. So by the time you're going live, people are so exhausted. I mean, I've been part of over 40 implementations, some end to
Yep.
end, some partial. I've never been part of one where somebody hasn't left the company all the way from the beginning
Mm, yeah.
to go to a piece of software. Maybe they're used to some other legacy software. They want out, or they're completely burned out by the end and they want out, right? So uh, I call it, the phase one illness, right? You do
Wow.
the phase one, you go running for the hills afterwards, and then there's in addition to that, when you go live with a enterprise grade HRIS, you're going to be in a stabilization window anywhere from 3 months to 2 years. And that depends on how much time and energy you've spent on your governance, on your roles. Like, can you stay out of your own way with fighting fires, right? And sometimes it takes clients up to that 2 year mark to get there. Now,
Mm.
I think about that as kind of a fourth trimester, if you will. You're not really getting out of your implementation until you reach that stabilization. And by that point, everyone's toast, right? So now I'll just say this last piece, which is I've s- I would I can see a world where there are some enterprise level customers that are very mature. And I saw this at Google when I was in-house at Google, by the way. When I came to Google, they had already defined roles and responsibilities. What does IT own? What does HR own? How do the teams work together? What's the governance model? They were already operating in it during the implementation. There was over 150 people working on that implementation. Now, not everybody was full-time, right? But there were 150 people touching that implementation, and everybody had narrow and deep roles. So with that level of detail, attention to detail, and there was an entire change management team of 10 to 15 people working globally together. There were folks traveling and training people live on a Workday rollout. This type of thing just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of attention to detail, and it requires some type of org rigor and a lot of dollars spent to make sure that you're executing against it and measuring as you go.
It's interesting. I have now heard three consultants use metaphors from life that compare technology to an organism, right? So you said the fourth trimester. Vivian
Mhm.
talks about the workflows being the beating heart of your applicant tracking system. Jeff and Monica Mueller with Ironclad Solutions, they have a service called Data Doula. They do data migration, right? I think there's something really unique about folks who are in HR technology where we understand that in order to convey these concepts, we have to speak in language that people are going to find accessible, and relating it to a living organism, I think, is just very apt. It really is. I mean, it is the sum total of many, many people working together with technology. But I will say my own thoughts on where I see implementations go south is when IT owns too much of it. I don't want to edge IT out, but I feel like HR IT as a profession just gets people processes more deeply, even if there are core IT things that IT needs to bring to the table that maybe the HRIT folk don't know yet, right? Like we understand these systems as living and breathing things, and if they are not designed in a way that they have that impact on the end user, they're not going to be effective.